On the first Centennial Advent year 2021, remembering the contributions of Shrii Shrii Anandamurti ji dedicated to humanity. History shows that at the time of every crisis and confusion, the eternal soul of the world expressed through a universal human who with their force of personality and new philosophy saved the world from the pillage of time and plunder of history. Gautam Buddha saved the world from the blind bigotry and arrested the decline of ethical values. When the West was suffering from religious persecution, Jesus Christ came as a savior. History presents one great problem for each era to solve, and the universal person who understands the dilemma and dimensions and marks the beginning of an epoch. At a time when human civilization is in a state of moral decay, when social institutions have become effete, Shrii Shrii P.R. Sarkar offered his comprehensive philosophy of social reconstruction and spiritual regeneration as monsoon showers after a scorching summer. Vaisakhi Purnima of 1921 was the most auspicious day for this planet, heralding the advent of Shrii Shrii Anandamurti ji, also known as Shrii P.R. Sarkar, affectionately called Baba, in a small township of Jamalpur in Bihar, and left his physical body on October 21st, 1990. He brought with him a comprehensive ideology and a practical plan, a soothing balm to cure the pain and misery of the suffering humanity, and established the Ananda Marga mission in 1955. Over the last 66 years, his mission created yoga centers, research centers on microwave science, socio-economic philosophy proud, that is progressive utilization theory, and a variety of service projects in more than 180 countries, for example, AMAT, disaster relief, www.amat.org, etc., etc. Shrii Shrii Anandamurti ji says, the supreme spirit within humanity, neglected for ages, has awakened today. This awakening will initiate a new chapter in human history. You will all be the pioneers of the new trend. Shrii Shrii Anandamurti ji further quotes, in the transitional period of civilization, honesty in individual life is a prime necessity. We shall have to remain ever vigilant that the darkness of petty self-interest may not shroud this supreme human treasure. With the very extinction of honesty, civilization too will not survive. The long sadhana of the human race will go in vain, and all intellectual achievements will become meaningless. Book knowledge that cannot be utilized in life has no value. A full-fledged ideology, a profusion of new paradigms. Shrii P.R. Sarkar gave a number of original theories which, if explored and accepted, will have a profound influence in the shaping of scientific and ideological paradigms of the post-materialist worldview. They are likely to reshape the conceptual terrain of diverse academic disciplines. For example, in sociology, he expounded a concept of class which is socio-psychological in nature rather than purely economic or social as offered by Marx. In history, he proposed that historical dynamics are largely the product of a cyclic rotation of class dominance, and he gave a practical means for this social cycle to be progressively advanced so as to minimize the perennial problem of class oppression. Shrii Shrii Anandamurti ji says, human society is one and indivisible. Don't try to divide it. Each and every individual should be looked upon as the manifestation of the cosmic entity. Chemistry. In chemistry, he proposed that chemical formula need to include, along with the current molecular information, notation of the free microvita content, and he claimed that chemical reactions are affected by the quality and nature of microvita present. Biology. In biology, agreeing with the contemporary biological research, he asserted that evolution is guided in part by the collective micropsychic longing of the species and is not wholly the result of random mutation of genes. Philosophy. In philosophy, he expanded the scope of philosophy by adding in its traditional branches of ontology, cosmology, metaphysics, and ethics two new sciences of mind, that is, manovigyan, biopsychology, and intuitional science. At one place, he quotes that those who can dedicate their all to the thought of the great and the inspiration of the supreme are verily the most heroic. Indeed, they are the virtuous, and they alone are capable of taking human history from darkness to light. Linguistics. In linguistics, he explained verbal expressions arises synchronized unity of the 5 lower chakras, and he linked etymological transformation to changes in physiology and collective psychology. Economics. In economics, he proposed that the branches of psychoeconomy and people's economy be added to the current scope of economics. He developed a system of decentralized economic planning in Prout and gave a new explanation for the cause of economic depressions. Science. In cognitive science, he demonstrated the profound effect of microvita on the functioning of the mind, suggesting, among other things, that developed human minds can use positive microvita to propagate new ideas, and that negative microvita can foster the spread of intensification of imperialism. Quoting on society, he says, "The marching together of all in unison is termed as the society. Instead of despising those who have lagged behind, help them to advance. This alone will be your social dharma." Humanities. In the humanities, he distinguished the culture from pseudo-culture and revealed the function of pseudo-culture is maintaining advantageous conditions for economic exploitation and social oppression. Psychology. In psychology, he stated that the endocrine glandular system is the psychological mechanism through which mind affects mental and emotional expressions. Ethics. In ethics, he proposed an ethical concept which transcends the conflict between the moralistic ethics of the fundamentalists and the situational ethics of the secular humanists. He asserted that morality's purpose is to provide mental stamina and balance for understanding a spiritual sadhana. Regarding human settlement planning, he demonstrated through his model settlement Anandanagar practical means to decentralized urban population to integrate nature into the human habitats so as to preserve and enhance ecological balance and to provide the full range of social, economic, cultural and spiritual need to all people. He says that to love Paramapurusha and the creation is the only dharma of spiritual aspirants. They should never be misguided by any sentiment of caste, creed or language, and they should never tolerate any sense of discrimination. In religious studies, he detailed the historical development of Tantra and indicated the seminal influence of Tantra on Buddhists, Taoist, Hindu and Jain mysticism. In liberation ideology, he propounded neo-humanism, a philosophical concept which gives ideological unity to diverse progressive movements, including anti-imperialism animal rights, women's rights, civil rights, environmentalism, and ethical nationalism, unifying movement for social liberation with the pursuit of spiritual liberation. In music, he gave expression to mysticism and devotional sentiments through lyrics in vernacular languages and folk melodies. He gave 5,018 songs with melody in a span of 8 years, starting from 14 September 1982 till the last day of his physical departure, which is a unique presentation in human history. He says, the entire universe has to be brought within the realm of your mind and made wholeheartedly your own. This indeed is the way to benediction, the way to all-round prosperity and success. This is the only path of your individual and collective survival. In pharmacology, he collated existing knowledge and identified a number of new herbal and Ayurvedic remedies for common ailments. He asserted that efficacy of pharmacological remedies is affected by their microvita content, and he provided a conceptual framework through his theory of microvita, capable of explaining the efficacy of many forms of esoteric healing systems. Education. In education, he revised the objectives of education to emphasize the integrated development of the total human personality and inculcation of the universalistic sentiment creation. Ecology. In ecology, he gave the powerful philosophical concept of Brahma to bring about the harmonious balance of cultures with their ecosystems. Yogic science. In yogic science, he introduced important new meditation practices, recodified the system of intuitional science. He included social practices and undercut the notion that spiritual work can be done in isolation from the society, asserting instead that sadhana without service amounts to spiritual exploitation. The embodiment of bliss. Since his early childhood in Bihar, India, where he was born at the dawn of the full moon date, May 21st, 1921, Sri Prabhat Ranjan Sarkar attracted millions of his followers and friends by his deep love for humanity and guiding them along the path of self-realization and service to humanity. Adjusting the ancient science of Tantra Yoga practices to meet the needs of the current as well as the future generation of the humanity, he developed a scientific philosophy for the sake of human transcendence to divinity and taught his updated system of practical spiritual disciplines for causing physical, mental, and spiritual transformation of one and all. In obedience, his followers called him Shrii Shrii Anandamurti, the embodiment of bliss, or simply Baba, the loving Father. Millions of people of all races from around the world who followed his teachings found their lives transformed as they overcame their weaknesses and negative stances of their mind to experience a deep peace and bliss within. Inspired by his selfless exemplary presence in their midst, his followers focused their efforts on serving the society and elevating the oppressed. To know more and get connected with his organization's activities, you can visit. Sites are displayed for your reference. Thank you.